It's a fact-based story about the life of the woman whom Shakespeare's Lady Macbeth is based on. Award-winning actress and playwright Roxanne Fay stars in Thrice to Mine, a play she wrote as an artist in residence at a castle in Scotland. And guess what? Roxanne is back with us today. It's been too long. How are you?
I'm really well. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. By the way, I just want to point out we've already teased the upcoming kitty in our segment. You were even loving on the kitty.
Oh my gosh, yes. If you, please come and get this little boy. He is so sweet. He is so sweet. I would love to add another cat to our household, but our cat has a health problem that he could pass on, so would not be a good thing.
Well, you travel so much and are so busy taking on plays. Of course, you know, we've gotten to know you because of your work on stage, but I'm fascinated how much work you do as a playwright. Let's go back and talk about how this play that you're performing now came to be, thanks to you.
Well, there have always been, for me, mysteries in Shakespeare's version of Macbeth.
Okay.
Certain things that didn't add up, you know, and you have to ask questions about. Particularly that Lady Macbeth makes a reference to having suckled a child. And it's very clear in the play that they don't have children. So there has to have been a previous marriage or something like that. And going back into history, you can find a lot of her lineage. In 2016, I was awarded a writer's fellowship by the Hawthornden Writers Fellows in Scotland, at Hawthornden Castle in Scotland, in Lasswade. It's just a little bit outside of Edinburgh. And there were 4 resident writers there for a month, in which we had just time, you know, to concentrate on what we were doing and not really have to worry about anything outside of that work. There was no Wi-Fi, there was no phone reception, there was no television, none of that. So I had a lot of time and a lot of resource out of their libraries to study into the history, the actual history of who were these people, because they were actual people. Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, the Macduff family, they were all actual historical figures in the 11th century. And while I found a lot about her lineage, that she was indeed married before she was married to Macbeth, that she had given birth to a child from the first husband, and that they were the King and Queen of Scotland. But some really interesting things that came up about her lineage and about the purity of the line of her blood and its connection to the actual origins of the Scottish people, and the nature of their marriage and the nature of Macbeth's reign, that he was not this tyrant, horrible person. He was considered to be a very progressive ruler, and named her the Queen of Scots. Lady Macbeth was actually the first Queen of Scots. Before that, the wife of the Queen would have been the Queen Consort. But he actually made her his partner in governing the kingdom. So there's a lot of really great history. There was also a lot of holes. You know, there are a lot of holes in the story that you have to make up a lot of things and kind of go into.
Well, and that's what you're able to do on stage. Again, I know the one-woman show is nothing new for you. I mean, you've won plenty of accolades, and this is nothing new. Let's talk about, though, presenting it on stage. Is that easier, or is there new challenges when you're actually performing the play that you have written yourself? Talk about bringing it to life, your work, your blood, sweat, tears, so to speak.
Well, I'm very fortunate to have a relationship with a theater in New York that has always been very open to bringing in my stuff. They premiered Thrice to Mine last year at Bridge Street Theater in Catskill, New York. And I'd done the legwork for it, and I had written it and kind of rewritten it, and I threw out the first version and started over again because I didn't like it. And when I got there, I had the costume was designed, I had the idea of what it was going to kind of look like. But then, thank God, they're so talented. They were the people who helped me to stage it so that it would remain interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the trap with any kind of a one-person show is always that you don't want it to end up being either a lecture or a psychoanalysis session, you know? So to keep it entertaining, keep it fresh. And this is actually a particularly long show. This is the longest show I've ever written. It's an hour and a half of just one person's experience. But I had honed it down to its barest bones and really kept to keep the, you know, the essence going.
Well, we know if any woman can do it, it is you.
Well,
I
thank
really,
you.
really mean that. It's so good to see you again. Of course, if you want to enjoy the play for yourself, Roxanne, what's the best way to get tickets and learn about it?
The best way to get tickets would be to go to TampaRepertoryTheater.org. This is a benefit performances, 2 benefit performances for Tampa Repertory Theater's production of King Lear that's coming up in the spring, in which I am fortunate enough to be cast as Lear's fool.
Always busy. Thanks again for making
Thank
time
you.
for us, though.